All right. Hey. Oh, whoops. My mic be back there. Anyway, my voice will be distant. Welcome to Talk with Rose. Been talking in the chat to, and I talked about this on TikTok, which TikTok lives don't save. And so I was talking in chat to, in the comment section on one of the last videos I did, and I was like, you know what, I guess I'll go ahead and do this on a YouTube live because it'll save, and we'll go over what sorry, I left things up and open. I'm gonna go over what I think kind of happened. I want to go over what I kind of think happened. uh the incident in that Chilocothe hotel between Sarah, was that a prosecutor? What was that? The I I'm not exactly believing the security guard story. Okay. And right now, because of the gay rumors and the pregnancy room, I knew Nina was going to see that white dress that Gypsy was wearing and think it was a pregnancy dress. Because of the pregnancy rumors and the gay rumors, I'm not exactly believing that that all of a sudden in her email she has the answer that it was a security guard. Somebody needs to keep anonymous, and so they emailed her and with the correct answer. I'm not exactly um believing right now that I still think it might be. I still think, in my opinion, that, hey, and that could be one of the reasons why they're trying to go so hard on them with slander. They just made a prosecuting attorney look bad. A prosecuting attorney get up and scream and yell at somebody on the defense side and intimidate them, whether the chest bump happened or not, which I don't think the chest bump happened. It didn't happen. The chest bump didn't happen. But because listen to Sarah very closely, we're gonna go over this. We're gonna listen to what everybody has to say very closely. And I was in that live with Into the Weeds, so um I do know the full story from everybody's angle. Because first of all, here's Fancy and Sarah's story, by the way. Let me bring that up on screen. Here is here is this. Okay, Fancy just got done telling her side of the story.
And they actually told them they did call the police on them. Fancy and Sarah headed to the courthouse.
Still like just shaking. And Mike was like actually yelling at me, and he was like, "You're not a member of the media. You're Sarah, and you're here with Fancy."
And I know who you were.
And I said, "Yes, I am with the media, and I just wanted to give a comment." And then his friend like proceeded to like stand up and ask.
Okay, so Mike it sounds like right there. Wait, did the friend yell? And then proceeded to stand up? Okay.
He was standing up, he was getting like in my face, kind of like, to chest bump me.
See, she said kind of like to chest. She's trying to explain, yeah, he was all up in my grill, or like Into the Weeds said her Kool-Aid. But she's not at this moment thinking of funny, snappy words like grill, Kool-Aid. She's like trying to think of, how do I describe this guy was so close to me, they could probably make out or something. But so she's using the word like to chest bump. But she didn't say chest bump. But this did form in to chest bump.
and I actually had to like stumble backwards, and I'm still shaking.
What?
Yeah, she got yelled at. He stood up so far into her grill that she stepped backwards and was like, "Oh my gosh," and so she's shaken from that because this is not what she expected. She just said, "No, look, I really am from the media," and he's like, "But no, you're not." He gets up right in her face, and big guy yelling at her, and so she steps backwards because yeah, he's all up in her grill about ready to make out with her, and so things were going down with Fancy and Sarah, and everybody knows Into the Weeds podcast, who is a mother-daughter podcast, live in Missouri. They live a couple hours away from Chillicothe, so they decided a couple things. It'd be nice to meet Fancy. That would be fun. She's coming to Missouri. She's only 2 hours away. And two, she needs a hotel and this and that. Why don't we drive the 2 hours to Chillicothe, get that hotel and everything for them so that they don't have to roll in at 6 in the morning trying to check into a hotel and they got 3 hours left to get ready and they're tired and blah blah blah. So Into the Weeds podcast, like, hey, we're gonna help these guys out. We get to meet them, and we get to, we're part of history right now. They're like, we're watching this lawsuit go down because Gypsy is this public figure, and this public figure has brought this lawsuit against Fancy. And it's like, all right, dude, we get to be part of history going down. We're going to be right there in that courtroom, and we're going to watch and document all this. And so here's the daughter, Alora. I have been spelling her name wrong. Here's Alora. This is Fancy's video that Fancy put up saying, Alora Flowers confirms Sarah was assaulted, and weeks later changes her story. Because this was posted after Into the Weeds Live podcast, where Sir Morbid interviewed them and went over the whole story when they were finally ready to tell their side of the story one more time. But this time, they weren't going to tell it right after all the excitement, right after all, because all these videos were made right after all the excitement, the drama, everything went down, and everybody's standing up for everybody. So everybody's telling their story, and Laura decides to stand up for Fancy and Sarah. And so I know the story that they told on that. I was in that live. So I watched that story live. And you can even, if you could find the video, I didn't find the video, but if you can watch me comment in there. So I was in there, and I was in there live. And so I know the whole story. So looking back on this video, I can see what Alora is doing. So she didn't change her story a couple weeks later on Fancy, and so remember Laura's telling this story right now, but if you watch the live, what the truth that you do know is Laura was asleep upstairs when the first half of this started going on. She came into the dining room in the middle of her mom and Fancy watching everything go down. So listen to what Alora has to say about the situation. So this is the first thing she put out defending Fancy because they were there. They want to help defend Fancy. So here's what Alora has to say. See, exactly. That's what I believe. And I've been saying to everybody, like, just because you don't exactly like Fancy or respect Fancy, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have good information or truthful information and whatnot. And, you just have to decipher not the person that's giving it exactly sometimes, especially if they're delivering it in a screaming manner and whatnot. Is this truth or not? Where did they pull this information? Where's the receipts? Oh, whoops, sorry. I didn't change. Oh, crap. I didn't change that crap. Hold on, let me share this tab now. Sorry. Here. Oh, you didn't hear what she said. Okay, here.
A grain
Okay.
of salt. You don't know me from a random Joe Schmo on the street. Anything I say, you are fully free to believe or disbelieve, but I'm just going to tell you exactly how I saw it. I'd like for it to be thrown out there that I completely understand that there are a lot of people that have mixed feelings on Fancy, Sarah, and the Good Wives Network, and just really Gypsy Rose and anyone that's involved in that whole sphere. I'm not here to change your opinion on anybody. I'm not here to defend anyone or tell you that you should like somebody over the other. But what I will say is, regardless of how we feel about a person or how we feel they conduct themselves, it doesn't erase some of the truth that they have to say. And I just feel like as a whole,
But the problem also in this situation is if you do know that somebody is an embellisher, that they do tell the truth, but they love to embellish. Yeah, you do got to take what they say with a grain of salt. You got to sift through it and be like, well, what exactly is truth? Because I know this person. Everybody knows Fancy loves to embellish. I've been hearing lately, I don't know much about Sarah, but people have been saying Sarah also loves to embellish.
We should all just try and look at the things that people are saying versus the way that they're saying it. And I hate to say that, but man, oh man, is there some shit. I would absolutely love to delve into the details of this court case. I feel like there's something very important and serious that happened this morning that needs to just be addressed before anything else.
See, she's saying that it happened this morning. So she's back home because they only live 2 hours away from Chilocothe. And drama is going down already because Fancy and Sarah, the video I just showed you with Sarah in the car, it just happened. So it happened in the hotel 10 minutes to 9 o'clock to when they were due to be at court. And so they got in the car, and as they drove across the street to the courthouse, and they filmed it real quick. They filmed it real quick before they walked into the courthouse. They quickly filmed it whilst there was still shaking, still panicking. And now, like I said, and so the drama is still going on. And so she's home now. She's watching the drama, and she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna put some 2 cents up about this, okay? Because I was there, and so I can say something about what happened."
I know a lot of people are in disbelief, and I completely understand. But as someone who witnessed the majority of the event, and my mother,
See what she said: the majority of the event, not the whole event, the majority of the event.
saw all of it.
Her mother saw all of it, but then again, her mother says kind of she wasn't paying exact attention either. Like Fancy was the only one like fully eyes glued to the situation because Fancy, I don't know if it's like she was watching more than anybody else because she was hoping something would happen. Like you said, first of all, I did see somebody posted the live where Fancy said she did bring a firearm protection and didn't tell Sarah that she was packing. And she was packing just in case something happens because I guess Fancy expected something that bad to go down.
really was as crazy as they This morning at about 8 a.m., my mother and Fancy were sitting downstairs in the hotel lobby having breakfast together. A few minutes after they had been sitting there, they saw a tall man walk in with some of his friends, and they looked over, and Fancy's like, oh my goodness, that is, I'm going to put picture here and name here because I forgot his name. Mike Stanfield. I want to say that's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was pointed out. My mom didn't really know who she was talking about at first, but then she's like, oh, Gypsy Rose's lawyer. So Fancy, I believe, took out her phone and took a picture, of him, just for her own documentation. And I will say, I completely understand the idea of being a little frightened and confused when you see, the lawyer that you're going up against in public, and you just want to have some kind of documentation just in case anything happens. So I get it. That being said, she called Sarah down, and
I wouldn't have thought to do that. I'd be like, oh, the lawyer's here. I'd be like, turn the other way. Because I'm just that kind of person. When I see the opposing side, I'm like, turn the other way. Don't look. It's the opposing side, the evil opposing side. I don't. So everybody's different though.
she told her to run downstairs as soon as she could because Mike was there. Sarah down, and she told her to run downstairs as soon as she could because Mike was there, and she would be able to maybe use some of her media training to get the inside scoop and whatnot. So from what I understand, Sarah came downstairs and she had a small conversation with my mother.
So listen to what she says. From what she understands, Sarah came downstairs as soon as Fancy called her and told her to. Okay.
And with Fancy, she got an interview segment from both of them, and then she decided to branch off, and then she went over to Mike. So she went over to him, introduced herself as a member from a media outlet, and asked if she could get some sort of a comment from him on what was going on. I tell you, he told her, no, I know who you are. You are not a member of the media. You are Sarah, and you are working with Fancy, and I don't want to talk to you. This is an inappropriate place, and it is inappropriate that you would even ask for a comment. Now, I will say, I understand that the way that things are said sometimes from a lot of people that are involved in this is not appropriate. But as someone who was there and got to spend a significant amount of time with Sarah, she is a more shy, more reserved, more sweet and timid person, at least in person, in real life. And yeah, she's not a threatening figure at all. And while I understand maybe not wanting to be bothered while you're having breakfast, being such a high profile lawyer and going up against what you're going up against, and by the way, it was a frivolous lawsuit, I feel like you really need to prepare for this sort of thing. And they're dealing with TMZ all the time. There is absolutely no reason why they had to treat her with such disrespect. That being said, I think a few more things transpired. She kind of reiterated, yes, I am part of a media team. From what I understand, Mike's associate, I don't know if he was a employee of his or a friend of his, but he then stood up. He put his chest up against her, chest bumped. He then stood up. I don't know if he was a employee of his or a friend of his, but he then stood up.
Hold on. What did she say? Hold on.
That being said, absolutely no reason why they had to treat her with such disrespect. That being said, I think a few more things transpired. She kind of reiterated, yes, I am part of a media team. From what I understand,
once again, she says, from what I understand, because remember, she's not downstairs yet. So this is from what I understand. This is her interpretation of what she understands, what she was told. Because remember, Sarah came to her and said, do I need to do this lawsuit? And this is her understanding of what transpired when talking to Sarah earlier that day. Because she gets home and she's thinking, okay, this is what I've been told.
Mike's associate, I don't know if he was a employee of his or a friend of his, but he then stood up. He put his chest up against her, chest bumped her, and told her something along the lines of, I think you should stand back. It was incredibly threatening. incredibly inappropriate. And this lady is like my size. I mean, like, if a man came up to me like that, I would feel so intimidated, so uncomfortable. And she did. She was shaking and she was borderline crying for the rest of the morning. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. And I feel so bad that she had to go through that. I don't care who you are or what this entails. You should never try and intimidate somebody, especially intimidate a witness. That is, from what I understand, a crime in itself, aside from the fact that it was assault. Allegedly. A lot of people are asking, how do we know if this is legit if we don't have a video? From what I understand, I think that a couple pictures and maybe like a few seconds of video was taken of this.
See, from once again, from what she understands, because she hasn't seen it. From what she understands, there are pictures and there are videos, but she doesn't know yet at this point.
We did try to approach the hotel lobby or the hotel staff and ask them if we could have access to the access to all of the files or all of the video recordings. That's what I meant to say. We asked the hotel staff if we could have access to the video recordings. Something I forgot to mention is I came down right as Mike's associate was standing up and yelling, "This is so unprofessional. Call the police. Call the police." Well, sir.
So by this point, Sarah had already stepped back. The chest bump had already happened. And so she comes down at this point where he's like, call the police. Call the police. This chick didn't back off when I told her to.
In this particular instance, you were the only one that was acting unprofessional. That being said, the police did get called, and guess who scurried off before they got there? The police stay there for maybe like 3 minutes. They didn't even get the footage, so I really don't even know what they were there for. I'm thinking maybe it's going to end up on TMZ or something. So if anyone sees that, like, tag me in the comments below because I'm genuinely curious. We were trying to figure it out.
See, she hasn't seen the video. She's curious. She's like, I want to see this video. I came down when he was yelling, call the police, call the police, call the police. So when she went onto her podcast with her mother and said she didn't change her story. She said, I'm going to start my story from the moment I come downstairs. I'm no longer going to tell this part of the story anymore. The from what I understand portion. And so if you watch this video and you watch what she says, she didn't change her story. She's telling Fancy's story. And then she tells you, okay, now I'm downstairs and here's my story. So she didn't change her story. When they did their podcast, they had took some time to sit there and think and say, well, actually, if we didn't see the chest bump and we didn't see the video, and now Fancy's being charged, they're sitting there going, well, maybe we ought to let everybody know exactly. Because when they came into Sir Morbid's live prior to their live, me and everybody else was like, step up on panel. Come on. Step up on panel. Tell us the story. Tell us what happened. We need to know what happened. Come on. And they said, we're doing our own live in 2 days with Sir Morbid and Hello Starlight. And that's when we will tell our side of the story. They're like, we want to wait till our own podcast. And it was the right place and time. Even though some of us were like, oh man, we have to wait 2 more days. Okay, fine. But it was the right place and time for them to be up there on their own podcast, on their own panel, and going, okay, you know what? We're going to tell the truth. Okay, Laura, we got there. We got the hotels. We all tried to stay up. I fell asleep for 45 minutes. Laura conked out for like 5 hours. She came to breakfast late. We're gonna tell the story from literally our perspective when we entered the dining room and what was happening at the point when we either entered the dining room or turned and looked and saw Sarah. because her mother knew that Sarah was going over there, but I don't think she was exactly watching. And she turned and she looked and she's like, wow, he is all up in her Kool-Aid, isn't he? And so she did tell the truth of, yes, this guy was in her grill, her Kool-Aid. I mean, he was all up in her stuff. But I don't think he chest bumped her, but he was standing close enough that, you can smell his breath and everything. I mean, that the guy close was so close to Sarah that, yeah, you got to step back. Sarah did step back to put some distance between their bodies because he and like Sarah said, he stood up almost like two chest. Because I bet when this taller guy, because Laura explains to you right here, Sarah's my size, okay? Look, you know how big Mike Stanfield is, and so his friend is around as big as him, and you can see how Mike Stanfield is so much huger than Gypsy at 5 foot. Gypsy's 4'11". And so I can imagine what it would be like to have that big of a guy because I'm 5'4". So I'm probably like 6 inches taller than Gypsy. And but I would still like probably go to his chin, just being or somewhere around his mouth, just being 6 inches. So if he came up and stand up to me, yeah, I'd be looking at his chin, neck, and chest, going, "Whoa, okay, he's about to like any closer." It's like if he were to take one step closer, I would be chest bumped. Okay, that's what Sarah's basically saying is I had to stumble back because if he was one step closer, I would have been chest bumped. But I wasn't. But everything got, look how wild the story got. Because look at Alora's side. He, boom, it is what Alora's being told. And so Fancy's like, okay, this is our moment to get them back. They brought us to Chilocothe. And yeah, charges freaking dismissed, feeling good. I mean, you're on a high when charges get dismissed. And it's like, let's go for another win. When they say, when you win too much, you should just leave before your luck runs out. Because eventually, when you're gambling, and which anytime you put up a lawsuit, you're gambling. Who's going to win? Because what you're gambling on is stories are going to be told, and there's going to be a third party, whether it be a judge or a jury, that's going to decide where the truth lies. Who's telling it and where does it lie? And so they've decided, okay, Laura's like, I'm no longer going to say from what I understand. I'm no longer going to tell that part of the story. I'm going to tell what I literally saw with my own eyes. Okay, I was asleep upstairs. I came down. This is what I saw. It's not that she changed her story. It's not that she decided, I don't like Fancy. I'm not going to back Fancy up anymore. It's she decided it's time that I literally only state what I saw, and that's it. And sorry if it offends you, Fancy, but I got to literally stick with what I saw now that I know that I'm spreading possibly a false story because I haven't seen the video. I haven't seen the pictures. I didn't see the incident. I wasn't in the dining room at that moment. And so I'm possibly spreading lies. And Fancy got her to write a witness statement, and who knows what that witness statement says, because did she tell the story that she just now told, or did she tell it from the moment she walked downstairs? Because now she's going, oh crap, I don't want to get in trouble. See, they're being smart because they're going, oh crap, if we spread this story, that the chest bump story that possibly didn't happen, we could be in so much trouble. Because now they're going there. They Fancy and Sarah gambled, put in the lawsuit, it backfired on them. And generally in small towns, they are corrupt and things will backfire on you. So you don't gamble in a small town. Because sometimes small town cops, they have the biggest ego and they will lie because they know that the prosecution and everybody's their friends, and the detectives and everybody's their friends. They work with them. And so whatever they say, they know is going to automatically be believed because they're friends with half the force. And a detective and everything is not going to be like, well, I work with them. I've seen the kind of cases they do. I know they're an honest person, even if they're not being honest. That's how cops get away with being dishonest, is they do some honest things that look really good. So that in those little moments when you want to lie, you get away with it because you've done some amazing things over here on this hand, so that you can get away with a few lies on the other hand, because nobody's going to question you if you have a good reputation. Your reputation is everything. And if your reputation is you are the most honest cop on the force, yes, you can get away with lying. So, especially like I said, the smaller the town, the more intimate the justice system is. And so when you live in a small town, you have the same lawyers seeing the same judge all the time. And the judges, the lawyers never change, and they all know each other, and they all are friends with each other. And behind the scenes, they all work in, some of them all work at the prosecution and the defense when it comes to the paid lawyers, the ones that are signed to you. They all work in the same building. They know each other. They're like, what's up? Well, in some of them, in my small town, every lawyer has their own law firm. And so it's not like in Salt Lake City, they all work in the same building. So they all know each other because the prosecution and the defense work in the same building. But in my small town, every lawyer owns their own law firm, and you can hire them. And the city also hires them to be those paid for. So when they don't have a case and somebody's not hiring them for this case or that case, and they don't have a case, they have a case because the courts assign them cases. And if you get assigned, is what's stupid is everybody's like, well, you want that lawyer. If you had that lawyer, you would have won your case. But instead you got assigned that lawyer. And it's like, why? Because the judge believes this lawyer more than that lawyer. And so when this lawyer talks, if they don't like him, you don't win your case. But because they like this lawyer, because so yeah, it's like, okay, so they trust this lawyer more than they trust that lawyer, which judges should never do that. Your lawyers intimately sit in a room with you and go over your side of the case. And we have to show proof of our side of the case. And so therefore the judges should just trust, okay, this proof has been shown and the lawyer is defending them because the proof has been shown. And so the judge should know that a lawyer is not going to sit there and lie to get their client to win. But like, this justice system is so screwed up, though. Like I said, it's so screwed up because there are favorited lawyers. There are favorited people in the courtrooms and stuff, and there are favorited people on the police force, and there are favorited people here and there, and so that also, which makes me think, okay, so Fancy and Sarah just made the prosecuting attorney look bad, so now they're lying and rolling out a story that it was a security guard. But like I said in past videos, this is the poorest security guard, then I would never hire from that firm again. Because first of all, where is this? Oh, I just realized, where is the security guard's weapon though? If it's a security guard, don't they have a weapon? At least some kind of weapon, gun, taser, something. Aren't they packing something? And two, why were they in a regular suit? Why weren't they in a uniform? Okay. And three, if you're a security guard, I guess you're out of uniform and you're not packing. So I don't know how you're going to protect your client, because you're not packing and you're not in a uniform to represent, yes, I'm protecting this person sitting right there. And three, you're sitting with them and you're eating. Okay, so if somebody comes up, usually when somebody is bold enough, especially in a public area, to try and do something to somebody, they're going to come ready and packing, okay? So if you're sitting there eating and all of a sudden somebody comes up and they're packing, you just got your client killed, because you had to stumble and stand up out of your chair, drop your food and stumble and stand up out of your chair. You just got your client killed, by the way. You are paid, when you are paid to protect somebody, you are on guard at all times. You are not eating, you are not chatting, you are not friendly. It's a business transaction when you hire a security guard. I'm hiring you because I need protection. Okay? So what are you doing sitting down eating with me, chilling with me like a friend? Because you might as well have just hired a friend at that point to protect you, because he's just sitting there chatting and like a friend, and he's dressed like a prosecutor in a regular shirt and tie, like he's going to court. And so that's my point of the story is, I think Into the Weeds never changed their story. I think they stopped saying, when they saw that there was lawsuits being handed out for false information and lying, they said, let's stop passing that false information, guys. Let's stop. Let's not say anything false anymore. Let's stop saying, from what you understand, this is what happened. No, Laura, you came downstairs towards the end of it. Now just describe literally only everything you saw, nothing before. Don't speculate anymore. Don't allege anything that what happened prior to you walking in that room. Your story is literally what you saw when you walked in that room. You didn't change it. You just cut off the allegedly parts because you didn't see the video. And I wonder why Fancy didn't even show Laura the video, because they were right there. They were there. So don't you think if Fancy was like, oh, look at this, look, he chest bumped her, don't you think he would have showed Into the Weeds? That she would have showed? Why did Fancy hold this video close to her chest and be like, nobody gets to see it, just me? No, Sarah, you were chest bumped. And that's why I'm upset at Fancy, because she's holding this video. She's not letting anybody see it. Sarah said, like to chest bump me, not. And we have the video proof. Sarah said, like to is what she felt like. She said, I feel like he kind of went to chest bump me, but he didn't. But like he stood that close to me, like I was going to get chest bumped. And so off of this information, knowing she wasn't chest bumped, Fancy was hoping that the video would make it look like she was chest bumped. and that they could file this lawsuit and it was a guaranteed win. And then she would get to be like, haha, Gypsy, you and your lawyer going downhill. You guys tried to get me, I got you. And that's the wrong way to play the justice system. Did Sarah get assaulted? Yes or no? If she got assaulted, because the Lord is right, what she told Sarah, did you get assaulted? Yes or no? If you got assaulted, did you get chest bumped? Did you? If you got chest bumped, if there was literal contact and he literally pushed you back and you got video evidence of it, then yes, file a lawsuit. But if you didn't, if there was no physical contact and you stepped back of your own accord because he was too close to you, so you stumbled back because he was all up in your grill, that's not assault. That might be intimidation, but it's not assault. And don't file, because now you're just talking about intimidation, and neither security videos show the conversation that went on because the audio sucks on both of them. So you can't prove intimidation in what he said. He can lie and say anything he wants to say that he said, and now it's your word against you and Sarah's word against each other. Okay? Your word against hers. And so I wonder if when they took Sarah back and she was back there for a half an hour discussing it, I bet the police thoroughly questioned her. And if she continued to use those words like he was going to chest bump me, not that he did, I wonder if they said, you know what? This sounds like a case of false reporting. And from the beginning, when they excused Sarah, they're like, yeah, they're out there. And they read Fancy's statement of, oh, he chest bumped and he yelled at her and he intimidated her and he assaulted her. And they're going, yeah, this is false police reporting. And I wonder from the beginning they were like, yeah, this is false police reporting. And normally he said, she said things like this, yes, would be thrown away, except for small town, blah, blah, blah. They rolled the dice, they lost. Because this town decided we're going to press charges because you just made our prosecuting attorney look bad. So anyways, I'm going to head off to bed because I got to get up in 7 short hours and start a long 4-hour drive. And I will be back. I will be back tomorrow, guys. Tomorrow evening. I hate traveling because I always leave feeling like I will post. If you're on my Discord, you'll see me post along the way. I just hate traveling because I always feel like, am I going to come home? And I hate that feeling. So I will let you guys know when I get home and that I'm okay. But expect me, it depends on how hard the drive is on my body. If I don't stream it all on Sunday because it's too hard on my body, I might not stream it all. Because last 2 weeks ago when I did this trip, it was so hard on my body, I couldn't move for a day. I couldn't move on Sunday. It was so hard on my legs, my back, my body. It took a week to recover. And now that I'm finally recovered, back out on the road. All right, love you guys. You guys have a good. I hope this clears up some of the rumors for you guys, showing you these 2 videos. If you listen closely to their words, I think we get what happened. That this video is not being shown because we're all nobody's gonna see a chest bump. We're just gonna see a man stand up yelling really close to Sarah. And yes, it is really uncomfortable and really scary, but it is not assault. Is it intimidation? Could be. But shouldn't have rolled the dice. All right, love you guys. Stay warm, stay safe, stay happy, and stay loved because you are. And I will see you guys when I get back.